Everyone, I'm Steve. Welcome to the Watch Corner, where today we have the epic ultimate battle of the two iconic UK brands, the Rotary Henley Automatic GB05385/05 up against the Accurist Open Heart Automatic MB912. Who will reign victorious as my neighbor Mike, who is not a watch enthusiast, scores the cards on these puppies? So if you're ready, let's go ahead and switch the camera over. Okay, here we'll get with the scoring. We got the Accurist on the left and the Rotary on the right. So the first category is caseback. The Accurist scores at 8.75. It appears to be the same iota movement in both, is what he thought looking at them, and I do agree, but I'm not 100% sure. And it's also, this one has the wider case. So he was talking about the case back here, so it's a wider case on this one. Then on the Rotary, I'll just go ahead and show that. So yeah, definitely a wider case on the Accurist than the Rotary. So for the case back on the Rotary, it also gets a 8.75. He says, good to see the moving parts. He's talking about the exhibition case back. Good to see the moving parts. Seeing the jewels versus a plain case back. And that's on both of them. So that was kind of a comment on both of them that he does like. And I have to agree with him. I would rather see an exhibition case back any day of the week than just a plain case back on a mechanical watch. It just adds something to that flair of the watch. Now the next category is going to be the dial, which the Accurist gets an 8. Negative is, now I'll pull this up. Negative is the lume markers do not line up with the indices. So let's look at that first, and I'll get a pen to kind of point this out. So if you look, the one on the 2 does not line up all the way to that pip. The one on the 3 does not line up to the pip. The one on the 4, the indice doesn't line up to the pip. The 6 doesn't all the way. Some of them hit. The 7 does. The 8, the 9, the 10, the 11's off. The 12's a little bit off. So it is interesting that my non-watch enthusiast neighbor noticed it, but if you look, though, the pips line up to the little markers on the bezel, though. So that is interesting. I guess I never noticed this till he pointed it out to me about that. So that is very interesting. And the second hand also, he says, gets lost on the dial sometimes, which that is true. When it goes around, when the hands are at a certain position, you lose track of the second hand. Also, another negative is a 24-hour indicator when you don't have a date. And I agree. I have to really agree with him. I think that's a valid point. When you have a 24-hour indicator and don't have a date, that doesn't really make sense because it doesn't matter. Really, honestly. I can totally agree with him. I mean, that does make sense. If there's not a date, it doesn't matter. But obviously, if they added a date to this, it would be too busy on the dial as well. Now, the plus is the textures on the dial, the different textures on the dial, and he likes the open heart. So I have to agree with him there on that. So that's an 8. Now we move to the Rotary, and the plus on this, and this is a 9, a score of a 9 on this. And The plus is clean, classy. He loves the blue sunburst dowel. The end of season markers line up, so that's a plus since he saw that on the Accurist that it didn't. He likes the day and the date. The negative is the branding, he says, takes away from the dowel. He said he would have liked to saw either just the Rotary logo or the Rotary spelled out, not both. But this one gets a 9 for that. And the next is going to be the bracelet. And the negative on the Accurist, it is a 7.75. The negative is going to be the press clasp. He fell in love with the Rotary's butterfly clasp, and he thinks every watch should have a butterfly clasp. I agree. Seiko, if you're listening, on your Prospect series, darn it, make a mill clasp, not a press clasp. So I totally agree with him on that. And it's also bulky, he says. He thinks it's bulky. You know. The positive will be the finishes match very well with the bezel. And he likes the polished accents on the end. So you can see on each end there's a polished accent. And he likes them on it. So that is his plus for the Accurist. Now, he loves the butterfly clasp, moving on to the Rotary, which scores a 9. Loves the butterfly clasp. Hugs the wrist good. And he also likes the hidden deployment that's very subtle. So the buttons to deploy it are very subtle. I have to agree, because my Movada ESQ, the buttons protrude out a lot more, so it's more subtle. The negative is not all high polish to match the bezel, so he would have liked to seen this whole bracelet, not just the center links, in high polish, to match the beautiful high polish bezel. So that was his only negative on it. Now we have the bezel, and the Accurist scores an 8. Positive is the textures complement the dowel. The different finishes and simplistic, he said. So I do agree with it. You can see the lines on the bezel. Then also the Rotary gets a 8 on the bezel. Positive is high polish, simple, matches the watch perfect, complements the dowel. And it's very classy, he said. So can't argue with that. Now we have the second hand. So we'll start with the Accurist. Negative is gets lost easy, small. Plus is that it is loomed. If you see, it's a tiny bit of loom on it. So that only gets a 5 for that, because of that hand getting lost so easy. Now, the Rotary gets an 8. The plus is prominent, big, easy to read. No loom is no big deal. So he doesn't think that having loom on the second hand was a big deal. So it is very interesting the way that things are being scored here. Now we have the wrist presence, will be the next category. So the pro on the Accurist is easy to read, which I have to agree, it's easy. It's definitely easy to read. Plus, it's nice and durable. Watch is sturdy. Seems sturdy to him. Now, on the Rotary, he said everything. The dowel works with the bezel and the bracelet, so he scored that a 9 for the appeal on this Rotary. Now, we have, just going to fold this over to make it easier. Now we have the loom. So you guys saw in the beginning, and you can see how we have scratch marks here from the Accurist and the Rotary, because after I did that time lapse that you guys saw in the beginning of the video, I had to get my neighbor to come out to show him the time lapse of how the Rotary, which starts out very, very amazing, craps out really, really easy, and all the loom goes away. Now, you wouldn't think from the way it started that that would be the case, but here comes our scoring. So because of that, the Accurist, the Pro is minimum loom, but it doesn't fade out as quick, it lasts. So the Pro on the Accurist is long-lasting bright. So that it gets an 8, and you saw from the time lapse of it. So the negative, obviously for the Rotary, it switched around, is going to be it fades very fast. And that got the score of the 6.5. So the way it was originally scored before I did the time lapse was the Rotary had won. But after we did the time lapse, it proved to fade out very quickly, as you guys saw in the video. So yeah, we had to change those scores around. So Accurist 8, Rotary 6.5. Now the very last category is the case, the watch case. On the Accurist, the negative is the crown guard protectors. He says fake crown guard protector, he called it. And because he feels that the crown guard should have came out more, because it doesn't really protect this, which is interesting. We know this isn't a dive watch, but I thought that was an interesting observation. And also, he doesn't like the other side, the left side. He just doesn't like the design of the other side, where it's kind of like that hexagon type shape. So I thought it was very interesting. Now the Pro was the case matches the bracelet very well, and he likes the multi finishes on the case, where you have some brushing and you have some high polish. So that's interesting. So that's a 7. Now we go to the Rotary, which the Pro is as clean, it matches the bracelet. It looks like a classic, nice, and it's nice and round. So he likes the round design of it, all being conformed compared to the Accurist. So all the scores total up, we have the Accurist at a 73.5 and the Rotary at a 75.25. So the winner is the Rotary. But very close matchup to the Accurist. This was more close of a watch battle than I thought. I thought the Rotary was kind of going to sweep it away, but that is not the case. So I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you enjoy this content, please hit the thumbs up button. Please subscribe to me and comment. And we'll do more of these with my non-watch enthusiast neighbor. And please remember, time is short. Let someone you care about know how much you love them today.